Books make you hope. Books make you dream. Books make you laugh. Books make you scream. This is the Books That Make You show, discussing books with authors and experts, unraveling the inner pages of all the books that help make us who we are.
Welcome, everybody. It's time for the Books That Make You show, and I'm your host, Desiree Duffy. And today we're talking about books that make you listen. Do you listen to audiobooks? Do your children? It's especially beneficial for auditory learners, and that's what I am. I love listening. It just resonates so much more than when I read. For those of us who like to multitask as well while enjoying a book, while driving, while stuck in traffic, while doing the dishes, cooking, gardening, heck, I'll take that audiobook with me and blare it on the speakers while I'm hanging out in the pool. It's a great way to read and not get your book wet. Anyway, they've just come such a long way since the days of books on tape. And today we're having a conversation about the release of audiobooks from children's author Kelly Anne Manuel. Now, Kelly is renowned for connecting with children through her books and her poetry. And she has a total of 31 books, one for each day of the month, and they span 4 different series. Also joining us is Becky Parker Geist. Now, she is the CEO of Pro Audio Voices, which provides audiobook production and marketing services, and they have produced Kelly's audiobooks. Becky Parker Geist is also an author of The Left Turn, Two Lives, Worlds Apart, and she's the president of the Bay Area Independent Publishers Association. Both of you ladies have been guests on the show before, and you are so accomplished in so many different ways. I welcome you both. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Looking forward to it. It's going to be fun.
Same here, Desiree. This is fantastic.
My pleasure. Okay, let's start with you, Becky. If you could give us the lay of the land with audiobooks, especially for people who might think, oh, that's what they used to call books on tape. How has it changed and evolved over the last few years?
Yeah. Well, it's funny that you asked me and put it in that way because I started when books were on tape, back in the 80s. But now, the evolution really has a lot to do with how many people are now listening to audiobooks, that the audience keeps growing as people discover how wonderful it is, what a great experience it is. We're just finding that more and more people are listening, and more people are listening to more content. Many people choose to listen to audiobooks partly because they are voracious in the amount of content that they want to take in their lives. And audiobooks makes it so much easier to be able to do that. So we've been growing, the industry has been growing in double digits for over a decade. And we're not seeing any end in sight for that kind of growth. So it's an exciting place to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Kelly, why was it important for you as an author and a children's book author at that to have your books produced as audiobooks?
Gosh, it's just such an excellent way to reach a larger audience. And I knew, what's funny is when I met with you, Desiree, and your company, I knew when I met with you that I wanted to do audiobooks. However, I had no idea what that looked like. And lucky for me, you did, Desiree, because you knew Becky. So
I knew how to introduce you to somebody. That's all I knew.
But it was so wonderful. The timing could not have been better. I just simply knew intuitively that the books needed to be audio. And when I met with Becky, I absolutely knew for sure that she and I were going to work together. And then Becky said, well, we can do video as well. I mean, that blew me away. The audio was going to be a tremendous feat in and of itself, but then add the video in, and we've just created something really, really incredible together that I am really proud of, and also super grateful to Becky and her company and her team for what they've done for the books and for me as an author.
Yeah. And let's talk a little bit more, if you could, Kelly, just explain more so about your books. I have a few on hand here, but there's 31 in the series, and bringing them to life through audio, through video, it's just a different medium. As far as children, I mentioned in my opening monologue, we all learn and absorb information in a different way. How do you feel this is especially beneficial for children to experience your books in this manner?
Well, like I talk about the rhyming factor being so important for early childhood development, for childhood literacy, to develop those comprehensive skills that are so important later in life, but are created, and the pathways are created in the early childhood development phase. So a child who hears the story with the music and the narration, it's going to land somewhere in their system, and it's going to create a pathway. Mm-hmm. And then they will be able to have that as a piece of their memory bank going forward. So the books, at the end of the day, are a layer of support. So when the pathways are created through the audio, that layer of support will be available to them later at different points in time when they need it, because the books are based on experiences, anything from playtime and a character named Light to things that are more serious, like boundaries and the Catch Your Dream, and loss and coping and resilience. So it's an additional way for the books to become part of positive self-talk in the mind of a child, positive mantras, because that's what the books are. And the audio is just a beautiful additional pathway to create that for the child in their life. And also, surprisingly, it wouldn't surprise me if the caregiver also felt some support there.
Yeah, and that's a great point, because this is something that parents can use, caregivers, as you say, aunts, uncles, educators, teachers, librarians. I mean, this opens up a whole new world for folks who are communicating and working with children, educating children, etc.
Yeah, I would like to just also toss into that. One of the things that is great about audiobooks and in education is fluency. It really, being able to listen to fluent reading helps children as they're developing their own fluency of reading. And I got really excited when I learned how Kelly Anne is an educator as well. We have that shared experience, in our own lives, and so that was exciting. And just being able to hear some of what she was just talking about in terms of her thinking around what it is that's happening for the listener as they're taking it in. And I think that really informed as well my own thinking as when I was listening to music that I thought would pair well with the audiobooks, that all of that was really valuable input and helpful in those choices.
Can you guys talk about working together? What was that like? Because I mean, you guys are like fast friends now at this point. So can you talk about that experience?
On my end, holy cow. So we're doing 31 books. So Becky provides 31, more than 31, what I'll call soundtracks, the music. So sometimes a book, she would present me with, say, 4 choices, 4 soundtracks for one book. So then I would listen, but oftentimes maybe there was 1 or 2 for some of the books, because she intuitively knew how I would respond to what she was providing. that's how I feel, Becky, and you can speak to that. I feel like we were just on we had this common mindset.
Yeah.
And because of that, for me, it was extremely smooth, extremely organic. I feel actually fairly quick as well. Because you would imagine if you're listening to several tracks for 31 books, that could be time consuming. But I mean, Becky would send them and I would listen, and within 24 hours, right, Becky, I would be responding to you and saying, this is choice A, B,
Yep.
It was so incredibly fast, but not a lack of quality in the speed. Right, Becky?
Yeah, it was. And I loved how I definitely got the feeling that most of the time when you picked the one, if I'd given you a selection, you picked the one that was my top choice, that I thought, I think it's this one, but I'll just keep listening to a few others and see if I can find some other potentials. But so that was exciting. It really felt like we were very much on the same page, and an easy workflow. Also, it was really interesting initially when I was reading through and I mapping out what sound effects I thought would be appropriate. There were times where I would put in what I thought, sound effects I thought we would need. And then as the music came in, sometimes the music just was like, no, that's all we need. It was filling in with the emotional content in a way that sort of released the need for some of the others. So it was a very fun process, mapping out both the music, the sound effects, and then collaborating with Kelly on how it all came together. Yeah, really fun.
Yeah. I'm a radio gal from way back in the day, and the production reminds me almost of that old time radio where they had the Foley table and the sound effects and the voices.
Yeah.
Again, it's such a departure from the books on tape where you have one narrative voice a lot of times and it's just a read through. You've really put so much into producing this. Are you finding, Becky, authors that come to you, are they surprised about what it takes nowadays to create an audiobook?
They often are. Yes, most of the time. We often will have people come to us and I think they come in with the idea that it's just somebody in front of a microphone reading, and it's just so much more than that. I was talking about this last night with a friend, and I said, well, it's a little bit like, let's say, for example, recording your own audiobook as an author is a little bit like assuming that if you can balance a checkbook, you can be a CPA. That there's just this whole complex layering of aspects and elements that come together to make a great audiobook. And some are simpler than others. If it is a single narrator, that it has fewer additional components, but there is still a lot of complexity around the whole process, and keeping those complexities flowing smoothly, and keeping the author well informed and collaborating with the author in that way, it takes a lot that I think authors typically don't think about. So yes.
Yeah. Well, and two, I think the nice thing, and Kelly, back me up here, tell me if I'm right or wrong, working with you, Becky, and your team at Pro Audio Voices is you're making the author and the process and everything feel so collaborative, rather than, I'm just imagining here, but if you're with a very large publisher and they bring in their people, there's a lot of folks doing stuff behind the scenes that the author is almost pushed out of. I don't know, right. Kelly, thoughts on that collaborative process that makes Becky and Pro Audio Voices maybe a little different?
Absolutely. I mean, in a way, I felt like I could have had a workspace next to Becky or Jerry or Emily. The team is incredible, and you do feel a connection, and it's very much of a team project.
Yeah.
And what's so amazing is here I am in South Carolina, and here's Becky on the other coast, and we are creating theatrical magic, audiobooks together. But the miles in between are numerous to count. So it's really, I want to say I'm actually grateful for this piece of the world for technology that brings someone like Becky and I together to create the audio and video for the books, because how would I ever even have met Becky or been able to team up with her without this technology advancement? So all of this comes together in a perfect synchronicity to create what I consider to be true arts, true works of art, I should say.
Yeah. Back in about 10 years ago, I was in a business training thing. And one of the tasks was to envision sort of, my perfect day, what I would be doing, what my life would be like. And it was during that I thought, well, I want a team, I want a company that is working globally, because I feel like that helps bring us all together and connect us all as people without all those boundaries and flags and politics and everything else. It's, we are people working together. And I feel so incredibly blessed to have an international team and clients from all over the world. We, children's books we've done from an author in Zimbabwe and the UK, and I mean, just all over the place. To be able to experience that dream in my life now is just so exciting. And I, when you talk about my team, I love my team so much. They are just wonderful, wonderful group of people. Yeah.
It is unreal how the technology is connecting us, like you said, and we just couldn't do stuff like this. Even just a few years ago, people just weren't used to using Zoom. And then we got past that. We actually, if anybody is curious, we're not using Zoom. We use StreamYard, but that gave us the opportunity for StreamYard and so many other different platforms to take over that, and podcasting too, which is a whole nother conversation that maybe we'll have on another day.
Right.
But I want to circle back, Kelly, because you are a self-described uncommon author. This wasn't something that you necessarily planned on doing or thought you'd be doing. Do you have any words of wisdom or tips for other people who are thinking of becoming an author, or maybe they're an author and they're thinking of doing an audiobook? Any advice you'd like to bestow?
Yes, my advice is yes, 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 1,000 times yes.
I love that.
Just put my yes into your pathways in your brain and simply go for it. Even if that means some quiet time with yourself, some introspection, and maybe not so much the idea of getting buy-in, and trusting your own system and your own gut and your own intuitive processes. Because oftentimes I feel that gets derailed. What I did here was in a place of quiet, and in a place where I, after 54 years on the planet, said, I am going to trust my instincts. And look what came from that. Now, some people don't have to wait till they're 54, and hopefully my books are going to help children not have to wait till they're 54 to be able to know in themselves what they want to do and what they want to create, and that is their decision and their choice. And it's okay to collaborate, but at the same time, get that interior quiet and calm and listen to what your true self is saying, because likely it's telling you to do something incredible. And I would love to see what that is.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that advice. I mean, we're just going to drop the mic right there. I mean,
Yeah.
but Becky, how about you? I'll pose the same question from your perspective. Any tips or words of wisdom you'd like to bestow to authors thinking of producing an audiobook?
Yeah, I would say also, yes. Yes, trust your instincts and your gut, always, And in terms of producing an audiobook, I also say trust your team, because many times, we'll talk with authors who have a very fixed idea about the way that they want to approach the audiobook. And it's I think it's based on, many times it's based on fear, actually, that it's not going to turn out exactly the way they have it imagined. And what they don't always think, what they're not thinking about is, if they open that up and, work with a team that they trust, how it might be even better than what they imagined. And so I think that there is both a holding to what our gut is saying to us, yes, and also an opening and letting go to work collaboratively with a trusted team, because amazing things can happen, both in the product that you end up with, but also the experience of doing it.
Yeah. On the business side too, let's just touch on that for a hot second. Kind of came up recently where somebody was asking me questions about, how do I hire this narrator? What are the terms? What are the royalties? And I'm like, I'm not sure. But
Yeah.
if you could just touch a little bit on the business aspect and why you feel it's important for an author to be with a team they trust, because if they just go out and produce their own audiobook, there might be some unexpected.
Yeah,
surprises.
we've actually had many people who have come to us after trying to do it on their own, hiring a narrator, and then they end up with files they can't use or narrative they don't like, and then they don't know, they're not in a contract, or they are, but they have it's a contract that now they're getting hurt by. So many different things that we have seen over the years. And the beauty about working with a team is that each person on that team has expertise that is specific to a certain area of the project, the overall project. As I say, it's quite complex, getting from the start all the way through to, hey, and now it's live and out there in the world. And so, having, trying to rely on your own expertise or your own, only just yourself, as with so many aspects of book publishing, editing as an example, it's always better to have an outside eye. Well, we want to play to our strengths and do what we do best and give our great gift to the world, instead of trying to give, trying to make it work by doing things that we don't actually know, where we don't know what we're doing. You'll end up happier, healthier, and your project will end up, better if you let go of the things that you don't know how to do and work with a team that does know how to do those and do them well.
Yeah. And I think that speaks to what we find so often with authors. I think they have this misconception, everything through the process. They think that they need to, and I've used this analogy a lot, go off in their cabin in the woods and write, and then they unleash their book and everything just falls into place. And from the word go, you'll need different editors to help you. You might need marketing people. If you're going to publish it yourself, you'll still probably need somebody to help with that. So that entire process is so nuanced, and it's very unexpected, I think, for some first-time authors when they realize, oh, I need help, and that's okay. It's okay to get help along the way.
Yeah. Indie publishing is a team sport.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. I like that.
Put me in, coach.
You're on the field. Yeah.
Oh, love that. Love that. Kelly, I'm curious for you, because we've talked about your books before, and I keep holding up some of the titles that I have here. You, of course, for those of you who are watching this on YouTube, can see all of the books behind Kelly on her mantle. But I'm just curious, is there a book or a moment, a passage, something where along this process you went, whoa, I just learned something I didn't realize before. I learned something about myself, or I learned something about my writing. Did you have any personal aha moments on this journey?
Well, really, we'll go back to the start for that. I'm still enrolled in a healing program. And the healing program has journal prompts for you to write. Mm-hmm. That is what started this entire journey for me. So the journal prompt led me to write a poem called My Name is Mountain. And that became my first story, my first book that I published. So the idea that I was working, the work I was doing on myself, all of a sudden actually had something tangible that I could touch and say, this is the fruit of my labor regarding my healing journey. So that was an aha moment, because then once I wrote My Name is Mountain, I realized, oh, this is a poem, but it's really a story for a child. And I talk about how I thought it was an only child. I thought that My Name is Mountain was an only child, only to find out I was having multiples. So that was that moment of absolute joy, relief, and even a sense of reward for the hard work I was doing. And by the way, still doing.
Yeah.
The healing journey is for me continuous. And it's interesting to see how my writing goes through that journey with me. Mm-hmm. And then you'll see that at some point when I publish my adult poetry.
Ooh. I can't wait for that. Okay, so and let's go into that. And Kelly, I'll leave the floor to you. Can you tell us what we can expect in the near future? What are you working on?
Desiree, the sky's the limit. The sky is the limit. So first, let's just say Becky and I, we've launched the 31 audiobooks, which, thank you, Becky. If I had champagne, I'd pop the cork with you right now. We just launched them, right, Becky?
We did, yeah.
Not
very
so
exciting.
long ago, a few days ago. So, and what's ironic is the bulk of 30 of the books were only published in August and September of 2022. So the audiobooks have been released even before the 1-year anniversary of the collection, that's where I talk about this incredible speed of things and how that went. But like I said, no quality was suffered for that. So the audio, I'm proofing the video. I'm getting the video product from Becky's team. And I will tell you, they are incredible, the videos. You take the incredible audio and you pair it with that, and we're talking art. We're talking what I, consider to be magical for children. And as I say, really whoever's interacting with the books. So then I going to be building a website so that as an author, you can find me, and it'll be a hub for everything that I'm doing, because there's so much more. I have books I want to add to all 4 of the collections, and then I am curating my adult poetry
Excellent.
as we speak, daily.
Happening
poems,
right now.
The poems are coming. So there's a lot. There's a lot. Just buckle up and go along for the ride with me, if you will, because I'd love to have you.
Excellent. And Becky, what's on the horizon for you? You're an author too, and we barely touched on that, for you and for Pearl Audio Voices.
Yeah, I'd say my focus has very much been a new platform that we've been developing over the last couple of years, but we have just launched the Amplify Audiobooks app. It is so exciting for us because what we were seeing was that we were busy producing these great audiobooks, and then authors were frustrated with the painfully low royalties and the barriers that were preventing them from managing their own products and their own customers. And so we created Amplify Audiobooks as a direct sale platform that enables authors to both earn much higher royalties, but also to have way more control. And for listeners, it's great because, I think we all really would like to have an impact in the world, and it's a way for listeners to say, you know what, I'm going to make a choice with my audiobook spending. I'm going to support the authors in a bigger way rather than, the big mega corporations and the billionaires on the planet who are doing fine on their own. They don't need our audiobook dollars.
Right. You're like, can you keep your hands off of the few pennies that these authors and creatives are pulling in?
Exactly. Yeah. So we've been in the process, and are in the process of disrupting the audiobook industry in a way to really, from my perspective, make it more sustainable for authors. If authors are producing and covering all the expenses of all of the publishing and the audiobook production and the marketing and everything, and then they are not earning back on the, through the retail outlets, that's not a sustainable model. Big picture, long term, that's not sustainable. So our goal is to do our part in our industry to turn that around and make a big difference in the world.
And I commend you for that. Bravo. Okay. Where can we go to find Kelly Anne's audiobooks? And tell us more. Where the consumer, you're speaking to them. Where can they go, Becky?
Yeah, you can always go to amplifyaudiobooks.com and find them there. That is the overall platform for the store. And for Kelly Ann's specifically, I don't actually have it right in front of me the way I wish I did. But you can always go to that amplifyaudiobooks.com and search. And you'll find Kelly Anne. Yeah.
Excellent. And we'll make sure we can put the links in the notes and everything so that everything is there. Excellent. And okay, Kelly, I'll bounce back to you if you want to give people information on how they can follow you. I believe you're on Goodreads if you want people to follow you on social media.
I am on Goodreads, which is exciting. I'm getting followers. I'm shocked. This is fantastic. It's great. It's great. So, and also just produced a bit of a YouTube channel for folks to visit and see me actually reading some of the stories myself. So you've got professional narration and then you've got me.
Kelly Anne Manuel is multimedia, right? All of these different formats.
Then you've got me. So you can check me out on that YouTube channel. I would love that. And then, as Becky was saying, when you Google Kelly Anne Manuel, you'll see all the ways to find me and all the paths to choose from to get to the books, whether it's a physical, hard copy, whether it's an ebook, whether it's the audiobook, Spotify, Audible, are some of the platforms that they've been released on. And then watch for the video to come.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And Becky, did you want to give people your social media handles? Where can they find you?
We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn. We're kind of all over. And Pro Audio Voices is always our handle there. Yeah.
Excellent. Love it. And the Amplify app, and you can search for Kelly Anne Manuel and lots of other audiobooks as well. I love that you are bringing that to the audience, to all the listeners and readers who are out there. Thank you both, Kelly and Becky, for joining me on this edition of the Books That Make You show. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Desiree.
Thanks, Desiree.
You bet. And thank you, everybody, for joining us as well. Please make sure that you follow us. We are on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. And don't forget, you can subscribe to our Webby Award-winning Books That Make You newsletter. Until next time, all of my bookish buddies, please enjoy all of the books that make you exactly who you are.
The host and executive producer of the Books That Make You show is Desiree Duffy. Sound mastering and engineering by Dave Napox. Social media and content promotion by Siddhi Jahagirdar. Copywriting and editing by Mike Robinson. The Books That Make You show is an award-winning podcast produced by Black Chateau Enterprises.